Hey guys, Deathy here. So today we're going to do a highly requested video. We're going to talk about Lash. Going to do a little bit of a guide. However, this isn't going to be a build guide necessarily I'm going to talk a little bit about the items. I'm going to talk about the skill build, but this isn't meant to be a definitive, hey, here's how to build Lash. I will probably do that. But I wanted to start off with a video similar to the Shiv video. Sorry for the cat noises in the background. But the video with Shiv did really well with gameplay commentary. So I'm going to be going over one of my games and commenting on my actions, why I did the things that I did, etc. Before getting started, I just wanted to get two things out of the way. A lot of people have been asking me for an in-game build. I have an in-game build. Right now I have a Lash build and a Shiv build. So if you want to check out the Lash build, it's called Deathy's Brawling Lash. If you go browse builds, public, right now it has 5 hearts, so it's right here. So you're going to have to scroll down a little bit. There's not that many guides, so you should be able to find it. So Deathy's Brawling Lash. And if you're interested in, the other guides, so I have Shiv guides as well. I've got 2 of those actually. Those are called Deathy's Weapon Shiv, top MMR build, and Deathy's Shiv build, updated 2024-08-18. So the weapon build is what I ran in the video. The other build is more of a spirit-based build. I'm not running it right now, but depending on the changes that Shiv gets, I may run it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. One last thing. I just wanted to let you guys know that I have a Discord. It'll be in the description of the video. Feel free to join. There's been a lot of people joining, and it's been really nice talking to you guys, answering your questions, etc. And another thing is I stream on Twitch almost every single day right now. Some exceptions, of course, but that will also be in the description, and I'll put it in the pinned comment as well. So feel free to come check it out. I like to interact with chat, answer questions, etc. So yeah, anyway, let's get into the video. All right, so here we are at the game in question. So this game was played yesterday, so that is August 28th. On my team was most of my stack. So if you guys have seen my previous video, you may have seen Boink, Zach, Pi Hero, and Cole Gaming are just some friends. And then we had Car Battery, which is Buds, which is an ex-Overwatch player. You guys should check out his stream. Very good player. And then on the other team, we have a bunch of other high MMR players. Some of you may know iRemix. I believe Michael's Vessel is Sharky as well from Overwatch. So some other ex-pro players from other games. So this is the game we're going to be watching today. A little bit of a spoiler. This was a very good performance for me, which is why I'm showcasing this. So I went 10, 0, and 30. Definitely one of the best games I've played in a long time. So we're going to be going over each of my decisions and kind of explaining what I'm thinking at the moment. I'll try my best to recall what I was thinking, why I was moving the way I did, and point out the things that I did do well, but also the things that maybe I didn't do so well. So let's get into it. First thing, laning stage. In terms of abilities right now, like I said, this isn't going to be a definitive guide, but I will talk about my skill points at the moment. So at the moment, leveling Flog first tends to be the play. And the reason it tends to be the play, let me just make sure to lower the audio setting here so that it's not super loud. The reason leveling Flog first tends to be the play is because it allows you to take trades. So here, as you can see, for example, I took a trade. I took a lot of damage, and I was able to flog both of them. And, you know, if I was playing another hero, I might be dead right now. But since I was able to flog both of them, I heal for 80% of the damage dealt. So I hit both of them in a duo lane. So 65 times 2, about 130, which means that Flog is healing me for around 110 health, which is a lot of health. So in the lane, I'm mostly going to be focusing on trying to use my Flog on both heroes whenever I can. If I can use it on just one hero, that's fine, but I really prefer using it on both heroes. So at the beginning of this lane, Infernus and Mo are both heroes that can be quite dangerous. Infernus has a lot of harass, and Mo has a lot of sustain, which makes it so it's very unlikely that me and Buds are going to kill them at the early stages of the lane. So I'm mostly focusing on just getting last hits. Here I'm getting denied left and right. That's my bad. Just gotta, I guess, play better. Here, I you know, finally flog them. I will say one thing that I could improve on is using my flog more often. Ideally, you want to be using it off cooldown because it's sustain, right? So if you're not full health, you should be using your flog. As far as items to buy, I would say the items you want to buy need to be helping you in the fights in the laning stage. So the reason I bought Close Quarters is because it's a lot of weapon damage. So it gives you 6% base weapon damage plus 25% as long as you're within 15 meters, which Lash usually is. And it gives you some bullet shield, which allows you to take more trades, etc. So I took an unfavorable trade there. I'm being a little bit too aggressive in this lane right now, which tends to be one of my biggest weaknesses. I tend to be a little bit too aggressive in lane. But I'm still focusing on the last hits, still making sure that I'm pressuring here. As we can see, the Mo is incredibly hurt, and the Infernus went on me there while Buds was going on the Mo. He managed to kill the Mo. The Infernus is really hurt. And here, I think a lot of players would back up, and I do need to back up, but I'm going to try to get one more last hit before leaving. And the reason for that is just I'm trying to get as many souls as possible, right? Now, I have two options here. Option number one would have been, hey, I can buy healing right and stay in the lane. Option number two is I speed back and go back to base. The reason I decided to speed back is because it allows me to be greedier and buy items that allow me to kill them rather than buying healing right, which is a defensive item. So I decided to be greedy, use my speed boost to go back. I didn't miss any creeps for it. And now I have Mystic Burst and Extra Charge, which are some of the items that I like to go fairly early on Lash, as it allows you and enables you to gank, and it enables you to play the lane a little bit as well. So make sure to use melees, especially in these situations when you can afford to, because you know you can't be denied. And good players will be denying you a lot of the time. So this Infernus here is just dead. As you can see, Lash is very, very good at punishing people for stepping out of position, right? So the Infernus was just out of position for 1 second. I go on him right away, see if I can get the kill. Of course, my teammate was also ready with the card, but even if he wasn't, I probably had that kill solo. So we're going to keep applying the pressure, keep pressuring the tower. The Infernus is back. I run away. I'm probably going to take a lot of damage here. So once again, in this situation, I could have bought healing right. The reason I go back to base is because the wave is pushed. So if the wave was at my tower, I would have stayed. The reason I would have stayed is because I don't want to miss out on that entire wave of creeps. As long as you're within range of the souls, you will get those souls. So if it was pushed, I would have stayed. Since it wasn't pushed, I'm not missing out on a lot of creeps. So if you look at my Wraith's POV, he's only killed one creep before I get there. So I actually got most of those creeps. Of course, some of them got denied and stuff, so that's unlucky. But I didn't miss out on a ton for going back home. And instead of buying healing right, I was able to buy items that are going to enable my game more. Healing right is not an item that you want to buy. It's an item that you have to buy sometimes. So it's never like, oh, you know, you're never going to buy healing right every single game. It's not like Dota where you're going to buy tangos every game or whatever. In this game, regen is something that you only want to buy in lane if you absolutely have to. Shields tend to be a good alternative. So Mystic Burst also gives 40 Spirit Shield health. So it's a pretty good item for that as well, just for a little bit of extra sustain in lane. It gives you a little bit of extra health. Yeah. So we're still largely focused on last hitting, as you guys can see. Nothing's really going to happen in the laning stage. The only thing as Lash is you should be looking for ganking opportunities. So as you can see here, I'm looking like, hey, can I come to the left? I see the Moan Curl is rotating, and so I decide to counter rotate as well. So one thing to keep in mind is always keep an eye on your opponent's lanes and see what's going on. So here, since the Moan Curl rotated and I counter rotated, we're able to get both kills, and we're going to be able to most likely take the tower. So one thing to be careful of in these situations is you don't necessarily need to go to your own lane right away after ganking. I've said this in a previous video, but I'll say it again, and I'll go a little bit about soul sharing. The way soul sharing works in this game early is if you have two people in a lane, they share the souls equally. What I mean by that is both of them are going to get the full value. So let's just give an even number to be exact. Early on, creeps give about 80 souls. If you get the last hit and if you secure it, the soul, you get about 80 souls. If you have two people in the lane, both of those people will get the full value of 80 souls. If you have three people in the lane, the value that each person gets will be roughly halved. So I don't have the exact math. I'm sure somebody's done the math. I have not, but I can tell you from testing it out that instead of getting 80 souls, you'll each get about 40. So what that means is 2 people together in a lane for 1 creep will get a total value of 160 souls. 3 people together in 1 lane will get a total value of 120 souls, roughly. So that's why it's totally fine to gank your solo lane. Generally speaking, you want to be ganking your solo lane because when you go there, you can take the creeps with him, and it's not a problem. But if you gank a dual lane, if you stay, you are effectively kind of griefing their game in terms of souls. As you can see here, this is another example of me just ganking. Once again, ganking the solo lane. And here I can totally afford to just stay here and push his lane with him. I do believe I am going to lose my Guardian for this, however, or it's going to be very close. I see the Mo and Krill is pushing. Right now I'm communicating to my Wraith, hey, let's go Mo and Krill. I believe we'll be able to kill him. So he did get the tower, which right now, Guardians are very important. They currently give AP when you kill them. So as you can see, I open tab, we're 27, we have 20, they have 27 AP, we have 32, even though it's 14 kills to 3. So you would think that the lead we have is actually huge. It's not as huge as it seems, despite having a lot of kills, because they've managed to get some objectives. So now I would say that at this point in the game, the laning stage is pretty much over. Officially, the game in the stats says the laning stage ends at 9 minutes. So that's usually the official cutoff. But once towers start dying and people start rotating to lanes, laning stage is over. So what do I focus on now? Generally speaking, I'm going to be focusing on getting my key items and seeing if opportunities arise on the map. So here, the reason I'm moving in this direction is because I feel like, hey, there's people that are pushed up in yellow lane right here, right? This Lady Geist. And I'm seeing this on a minimap and I'm like, maybe there's something here. And then I end up seeing the Viscous out of position as well. We do catch him. You can punch the cube, by the way. You can punch the cube back. Very good. I would recommend doing it. And now we get 2 kills off of it. So this is just kind of a snowball. And now I see yellow. I'm going yellow right now. I'm trying to just apply pressure everywhere on the map. So when you're winning your lane, this is what you want to do. You want to be just going around on the map, applying a ton of pressure, making it so they can't breathe. So right now, like we're just killing everyone. Yamato's dead. Geist is dead. We have a 10k soul lead. This is like the dream start for any game. Now at this point, we're on their side of the map. We've applied a lot of pressure, so we want to steal their jungle. You don't necessarily need to do this alone. There's 4 of us here, so we can farm like every single jungle camp. But we also don't want to just be doing that. We want to be pushing the lanes as well. So we're just farming jungle camps that are kind of on the way. You want to be able to farm them quickly. I haven't talked too much about my items. The reason I go Mystic Shot and Cold Front is just to get really early burst potential. So Mystic Shot gives me 84 damage on one of my shots, and Cold Front gives me a 120 damage burst. That means I'm getting, if I hit my shot with Mystic Shot and Cold Front, I'm getting about a 200 extra damage burst on top of my Ground Strike and my Flog. This means that right now my full combo can easily be doing 700-800 damage, which is roughly about the health of some of these characters on the other team. If we look at Infernus, for example, he's got 1400, so he's kind of hard to kill. Kelvin, 1100. Yamato, 1000. So these are just some of the examples, but my combo right now does a lot of damage. It does most of one person's damage, and that's the reason that I go these items. And then I go Superior Stamina currently, because Superior Stamina allows you to just move in a way that makes you really, really hard to kill. For example, me escaping there was largely due to having Superior Stamina. If I didn't have that, probably would have been over. I end up going back to base here because I'm quite hurt. So I do use my zip speed here, and the reason I do that is because I want to stay active on the map. I'm currently very strong and very oppressive, and so I want to be as active as possible because I'm like the strongest hero on my team at the moment, other than maybe Wraith. I have a lot of AP, I've got a lot of things going right, so I'm trying to make plays happen, and I'm trying to put the pressure on them. If you're ahead, it's very important that you have impact. I see a lot of people that they're ahead and they're just going to be farming. And you do want to farm when you're ahead. I'm not saying not to farm, but you want to farm aggressively. So I shove the wave. Instantly, I'm looking for a play. I see orange. There's 3 people pushed up. And I think, okay, there's probably something that I can do here. So I go for this. I get swapped by guys. Bit of a misplay by me. I shouldn't have pushed guys through the veil. But regardless, guys doesn't have swap now, so she's a lot less scary. And we'll be able to kill her. She kind of stuck around for too long. I don't really know why she stayed there. This is a quick little tip. You can melee multiple creeps in one camp at once, very often. So keep that in mind. Quick little Lash ult. I would say as Lash, one thing to keep in mind is you're extremely mobile in the air, especially with superior stamina, and once you get rapid recharge as well. So I would say make sure to keep an eye on your surroundings and to not tunnel vision. So for example, in that fight, it would have been really easy for me to tunnel vision on the Viscous as he cubed, but instead I looked around, saw, hey, are there any other easier targets that maybe my backline needs help, right? As Lash, it's very easy to ignore your backline, but you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the whole fight and not tunnel visioning one specific character, especially if that character is going to take a long time to kill, like Viscous. So as far as itemization goes, right now I have 5k. The reason I'm not buying is you don't necessarily want to rush the shop right away when you have a lot of money. You want to be doing things on the map that apply pressure. That's kind of, I know that I'm repeating myself a lot, but for example here, pushing this wave is very good for me. It's going to give me a lot of souls. It's going to give me more information on the map, and it's going to apply pressure. Like someone is going to have to come deal with this wave, right? And I can also farm this jungle camp now. So I'm thinking, okay, I can farm this jungle camp. Let's see if someone shows on the wave. So I see that Kelvin showed on the purple wave. So I'm being a little bit wary, and I'm going to start backing up, especially since I have 6k souls to spend. But I'm going to keep farming, right? Like any farm that's on my way, I am going to get it. And right now, I'm too far away from a lane to push it. I see my Dynamos pushing blue. So in this situation, I'm going to make the decision to go back to my jungle camp and farm that instead. The reason I do this is because I don't really think that I can show up to these other fights on the map. There's a big fight happening on the left side of the map, and obviously if I was there, maybe we'd win it. But I feel like it's pretty hard for me to show up to it right now. In retrospect, I probably could have taken the teleporter and showed up. And I do think that is what I end up doing. I'm not sure. But I think it's a little late at this point. No. Yeah, so I could have probably taken the teleporter earlier and showed up to that fight. So probably a bit of a mistake by me, especially since I'm pretty far ahead. But as you can see, I still haven't bought. And the reason I haven't bought is not because I don't want to buy. It's just because I've been really busy doing things on the map, right? Now I think I finally will go buy. You could make the argument that I could have farmed even the jungle camp that was near me before going to buy. But now I have 8,900. So I want to talk a little bit about Lash's item choices at the current moment. These item choices are probably going to change depending on the patches, so I don't think this is going to stay relevant forever. But right now, Lash doesn't benefit from what we call tier 4 items as much as other heroes. Tier 4 items are the items that cost 6,300 souls. Right now, Lash is a character that heavily benefits from getting a bunch of 3,000 soul items. So rapid recharge, improved burst, superior stamina, etc. But he doesn't necessarily benefit from getting there's not a huge power spike that he gets all of a sudden when he gets like a tier 4 item. So even though I had 8,900, a lot of people might have been tempted like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and buy a 6,300 item because I can. But the reality is 6,300 items are not always better than 3,000 items on every hero. Sometimes what enables your hero is just having a lot of 3,000 items. So as you can see here, now I have rapid recharge, I have improved burst, and I have silence glyph and improved cooldown. For those who are following my Lash guide in game, you may notice that I don't usually have silence glyph in there. The reason I bought silence glyph this game is because I'm playing against Viscous, I'm playing against Kelvin, I'm playing against Yamato, I'm playing against Geist, I'm playing against a lot of characters that basically rely on their abilities. And you're about to see here what happens when a Yamato tries to fight me when I have silence glyph. So I push this wave here, and I realize that there's a lot of people on the left side of the map, so I'm going to go farm the jungle a little bit. But I see the Yamato is farming the wave. She does show on the wave, and I know right now that I can fight the Yamato. And so I think Here, I think, is she going to show up one more wave? So as you're going to see here, I'm going to hide, and I'm going to let her think that it's safe to farm. So as she comes to the wave, I'm going to go on her, do a lot of damage, then silence glyph her, and then the bird from my teammate comes in. I probably would have been able to get the kill regardless, but obviously the bird from my teammate did help significantly. But this is the type of play that you can be making. So sometimes it's appropriate to just bait the wave, let the enemy think it's safe to farm, and then go on them. Especially if you have a suspicion that they're alone, because they're going to want to go for that wave. They're going to want to farm it. Obviously, that requires a fair amount of experience with your character, so it's not for everybody. Here, I'm going to get another silence glyph kill. Oh, wait, maybe not. He actually lived with 1 health for a really long time. So as you can see here, I'm trying not to tunnel vision once again, so I'm going back to my team. But here I can see, like, okay, this is not looking good at all, right? So I'm starting to run away. And when the fights are not looking good, like, just go push another lane. So I see, hey, orange needs to be pushed. Fight's not looking good. I'm going to be going there. And I'm going to keep pushing this lane for a little bit. Because that way, even if my teammates die, I'm able to apply pressure elsewhere. Now, you can make the argument that I could have kept going. The reason I went back is because I went to go defend the base guardians and buy. So here I'm buying some items, and I see that our base guardians were getting pushed. My Vindicta decided to deal with it, so I don't need to worry about that so much, but I do need to defend this walker. So always be thinking about objectives, things you can do on the map, things you can't. I see a lot of people here. My Wraith is getting chased. Here, this is kind of psycho by me, in the sense that, like, I probably should have died doing that. The reason I went in there is because I'm very survivable, and I thought, hey, there might be a way that I can defend my Wraith here. And indeed, it did work, but that was very risky. I probably shouldn't have done that, especially considering the fact that I am the richest in the game right now. And if you guys didn't know, you get extra souls for killing someone who is richer. So if they do end up killing me, I'm worth more than other people on my team might be, right? So it's important that I don't die if possible. Of course, sometimes you can't avoid it, but ideally, I want to be staying alive as much as possible, because killing me is one way to come back into the game. So as you can see right now, we have 31 kills. They have 17, but we're down 15 AP and we're down 6k souls. So we're actually behind at this point in the game, despite how good our start was. They managed to come back. We took a couple bad fights in the mid game, and now the game is pretty much even, with them having a slight AP lead of, well, actually pretty significant, of 16. When the game is like this, the fights that you can take, they need to be very advantageous, right? So you need to know, hey, you have numbers, hey, you have positioning advantage, etc. Here I'm going to buy Point Blank and Pristine Emblem. These are just items that give me a mix of damage and tankiness. Both of these items give me resists. So Point Blank gives me 15% resists for bullet, and Pristine gives me 12% spirit resist. And they both give me a significant amount of left click damage, which a lot of people tend to underestimate Lash's left click damage, which is actually pretty significant. So don't be afraid to use your Lash ult for just one person, by the way. I think some people really, really like holding it. I would say that don't do that. It's almost always better to just use it for one person, get the guaranteed pick, and then move on. So those fights were really good. We got some picks. Unfortunately, our Wraith did end up dying, which means that this side of the map needs to be dealt with. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with that side of the map. The Yamato got the buff. Yeah. So now the game becomes pretty much hey, which lanes are pushed, which lanes do I need to deal with, and which objectives can we take? As far as objectives at this point in the game, like I've talked in my other videos, there's the urn, there's mid-boss, and there's this other objective which I haven't mentioned, which are the buffs. Now the buffs are what the Mo and Krill is nearby. So maybe I go to the Viscous, he might go to the buff. Yeah. So he got the casting buff, for example. These buffs last a very long time. I believe they last 2 minutes, and they give like really insane stats. Like the vitality buff, for example, gives like 400 max health, and it gives like 1% or 2% max health regen per second or something. I don't know the exact numbers. All I know is the stats that they give are really, really insane, and they last for a very significant amount of time. So they're very important. So if there's nothing to be done on the map, if there's no urn, if there's nothing, always look at the buffs, you guys should be taking the buffs as soon as they spawn if possible. So people still aren't optimal about it, even in high MMR games, but you'll see the higher MMR the games are, the faster people take these buffs, and that's because they're incredibly impactful. So here we know that they have the urn, and so we're grouping around the urn to make sure that they can't just cap it. Right now the game's fairly even, and so we're decently confident that we can fight them. Here I actually make a bit of a mistake, so I go initiate on the Viscous, but it doesn't really look like a great initiation, and then the Kelvin blocks me off. So at this point, I've used a lot of my resources, and I haven't gotten much. And then the Infernus is chasing me, and this fight just doesn't really look that good for me right now, and I think for our team in general. We've kind of overextended. Our Vindicta dies, and they're pushing forward. So at this point, this is when you want to cut your losses. If a fight doesn't look good, if a fight is not feeling right, you have to leave. Don't try to salvage it. Don't try to do things. Just leave, cut your losses, go push lanes, go push objectives, go farm the jungle. For example, here, this is like a kind of a greedy play, but I'm farming the jungle as I'm running away, just so they can't get that. And here I'm like, can I buy anything? At this point, they're actually really deep, so I do think that I can actually kill them. So I start turning. So I throw the Geist under the walker. She got the swap on me. That was my bad. I played way too close to her. I do escape. And here I'll be able to reset, most likely. And it'll be fine. But yeah, we should have killed the Geist there. I shouldn't have gone so close to her. That was on me. That should have been a kill for us. As far as skill build right now, I've got my ground strike maxed, I've got my flog maxed, and I'm going to be maxing my ultimate next, just for the cooldown. Right now, this game, in general, I'm very far ahead. I can afford to be a little greedy, and getting my ultimate maxed in terms of the cooldown is going to be huge. It's now on a 60-second cooldown with my reduced cooldown item. So once again, they're really deep. We get a huge black hole. And I think everyone dies here pretty much. Yeah. One thing to know about Black Hole is if you've used all of your AoE abilities, so Lash has two. He's got Ground Strike and he's got Flog. If you've used all of those abilities, feel free to just heavy melee. So charge your melee and hit them. Usually you'll be doing more damage that way than if you just shoot your gun at them, especially if there's 2 or 3 people. So this is a good example of a mid-boss timing. We haven't wiped them, but we've killed 4 of them. And we're 3 up. So we're a little bit low on the damage side right now. So it is taking us a little bit longer. We knew this mid-boss was kind of risky. But we thought, hey, their Infernus probably isn't going to be up in time to contest it. And that's really the main person that we're afraid of. So since their Infernus isn't going to be up in time to use his ultimate on it, we felt decently comfortable going for it. So as you can see, if we look at the Infernus' perspective, he's not anywhere nearby. He's not going to be able to contest it. And since he can't contest it, he can't use his ultimate to stun us, which means that we should be able to secure it pretty easily. And now, a game that was pretty much even is in our favor because we have mid-boss. And mid-boss is going to push all the lanes for us. You remember, fellas, you got to take the buffs. I got the gun buff now. It gives me extra ammo. It gives me extra fire rate. It's very, very strong. And now, when we get mid-boss, usually the order is going to go as following. Number 1. If there are any lanes that need pushing, push them. So I believe yellow needed some fixing, so our boys went to do that. I think blue needs some fixing, so I think my teammate Vindicta might be doing that. So that's objective number 1. Once the lanes are fixed, you want to be looking, hey, with this mid-boss, can we pressure any buildings? Can we pressure anything? So the urn is a very important objective. At this point in the game, it's going to give quite a lot of souls. And so we decided, hey, we should probably be able to get the urn turn in here for free. Maybe not for free. They might try to contest it, but if they do, we have rejuve. Their lanes are all going to be pushing. It's not ideal for them to contest right now, right? They need to deal with their lanes. So I turn in the urn. As you can see, I got 1 AP, and I got 800 souls personally just for doing that. 800 souls is quite a bit. So here we kill Yamato. This is just Yamato's mistake for showing up. I have Silence Glyph, right? So every time she shows up, she gets silenced and she dies. And she made the mistake of not buying debuff remover, so she went fairly greedy items. If she went debuff remover, she probably would have been doing a lot better in this game. she probably hasn't been playing against Silent Cliff that much lately because it's been nerfed and people aren't buying it as much. So now I see that my team is in a fight, and I'm like, okay, I have to rush there as fast as possible because I'm by far the most farmed hero in the game. As you can see, I'm like 12k net worth over anybody else in the game. And so I show up to the fight. I'm just fighting it out. We're in the vent. This is kind of a shit show, actually. I remember this happening live on stream yesterday, and I was freaking out. I was like, what's going on? We're in the vent. We're having a good time, I guess. But yeah. We end up winning this fight pretty much. We'll win pretty much every fight that I'm there, just because of how far ahead I am in this game. So all we need to do is just not throw, and we should be able to close this game out just because of how far ahead I am at the moment. So I chase Yamato once again, silence cliff her. She's dead. And here we're just going to push this objective. I keep going. I catch one. So at this point in the game, walkers are more like of a suggestion than anything. It's 28 minutes into the game. We destroy them extremely quickly, and we don't really care about them too much. So, you know, I just kind of went over it and went for the pick. So here, right here, I'm like, hey, maybe we can get this this Geist as well. And you can. If you're pushing their base and there's someone that's poking out and you can kill them, you always should, because it allows you to keep pushing their base forever. And their respawns right now are what we call staggered respawns. So what that means is all of their respawns are at different times because we killed them one by one. So this is actually worst case scenario for them. If you kill them all at the same time, they all respawn at the same time, they get a chance to defend. But if they're staggered, you're always fighting with numbers advantage. So you ideally, you know, if you can stagger their respawns, you do it. Usually it's going to be hard to do it because you want to. Usually it's just going to happen because you're able to get picks. So now that I've got, I had 1,200 souls, 12,600, sorry. I bought two 6,500s. I think right now some of the best 6,500s on Lash are Diviner's Kevlar. I like Soul Rebirth just because I'm so far ahead right now that I really want to make sure I don't die, so Soul Rebirth gives me a second life. But I think as far as 6,500s, Diviner's Kevlar, Mystic Reverb are some of the strongest on Lash at the moment. And Vitality, I would say that Unstoppable to get your ult off, Soul Rebirth, pretty good. And as far as weapon, Siphon Bullets is broken, but it'll probably be nerfed tonight, so, you know, don't take my word for it. Spiritual Overflow is very nice for the cooldown reduction and the Spirit Lifesteal as well. So now a lot of players, I think, would probably make the mistake of trying to force it. We're extremely far ahead. We're 30 AP ahead, 30,000 souls ahead. And realistically, maybe we could end the game if we just go fight them right now. The reason we're not is because if you look at the map, on our side of the map, there's all of these camps that are available to farm. So where my mouse is, there's this camp, there's this camp, this camp, this camp. So we're looking at, there's roughly like 8 or 9 jungle camps to farm on our side of the map. And that's just free souls. And we already farmed their side of the map. So if you look at their side of the map, it's completely empty. So there's no jungle left to take on their side. So the only extra farm that's left on the map is on our side of the map. And that's the reason why we're deciding to just jungle. Now Yamato used Ethereal Shift, and then she just used her ult. So since I have Silence Cliff, I can pretty much just force her ult out. And so that's what I did. Ethereal Shift is a good item to buy against Silence Cliff, by the way, because if you get silenced, you can just use Ethereal Shift. And then you can simply use your ult after on Yamato, for example. So we farmed a good portion of our map. There's still a lot of camps left, but we've been pushing lanes and doing other stuff. And now, once again, we're going to do the other objective, which is the urn. And this is just to get further ahead. So right now, we could throw the game potentially still. Like, if we push their base and they, I don't know, they get like a really good Viscous ult, for example. Here I drop the urn to fight. Don't be afraid to drop the urn to take the fight, by the way. Like, it does reset, but it's not that big a deal. One thing I will say on Lash is don't use your ground strike right away. So what you can see there is I used my ult, and I waited to see what Yamato would do before ground striking. I still ended up not hitting it, but the reason I'm saying not to use it right away is because most people, when they get Lash ulted, the first thing they'll do is they'll dash away. So if you don't use ground strike, you can just wait and see their movement and then use it. Because if you Lash ult them and they just dash away really quickly, or they use Warp Stone or whatever, you're going to miss your ground strike. So I would highly recommend just waiting to see what they do. So here we got 2 or 3 picks, and the game's just going to end, right? They were trying to do stuff. They were trying to make stuff happen because they're very far behind. And there's really nothing they could have done other than stay in their base. So now we're going to kill them, and the game is going to end. So this video was more of a showcase, just play-by-play commentary, letting you guys know what I think. Let me know if this is helpful. I'm a little bit fearful about making some of these videos just because it's a pretty long factor. Like it takes quite a while. I guess I want to finish off this video by looking at stats and telling you guys a little bit more about how to analyze your stats in a game. And I'll probably make a short video about this. But usually when I'm looking at the scoreboard, first thing that I'll look at is you can click graph type. So if you click view graphs here at the bottom, under graph type, you have a bunch of very, very interesting statistics. One of my favorites is the lane stats, because you can look at a specific lane and see what the souls were like at 9 minutes. So you can see, hey, did I win my lane? How many denies did I get? You know, how much player damage did I do? Like, who was the contributing factor in our lane? So as you can see, we had even number of last hits. We had slightly more denies than them. And we had 5k souls more because we got 5 kills. If I look at my Bebop's lane, he was owning. He almost had 4k more. If I look at my Vindicto's lane, it was about even. And I look at my other duo lane and they were slightly winning. This is good to give you an idea of like, hey, what went wrong in the game, right? So if I'm the enemy team, I'm looking at this lane and I'm like, damn, what happened here, you know? Other interesting stats are, you can go damage breakdown. This just shows you like what you hit. So for example, here it shows that I did 35,000 damage to enemy players. Whereas I did 51,000 to troopers. So this just allows you to show how many creep waves you pushed. So for example, Buds did 33,000 to troopers. My Bebop did 34,000. My Vindicta did 31,000. Great Talon 38. And my Dynamo did 20. So what this means to me is like, hey, I was the one that pushed the most amount of lanes in this game, right? So that's another thing. And then if you're curious, damage dealt by type is a good way to know like, hey, what's your main source of damage? So as you can see in this game, my sources of damage are actually very diverse. So I've got gun damage first, flog, ground strike, improved burst, gun damage crit, and then a bunch of other things. So I actually got damage coming from a lot of different sources this game. And yeah, I'd say those are pretty much the main things that I look at when I'm looking at stats. Anyways, let me know if you liked this video. If you guys liked it, I'll definitely make more. I know a lot of people have been requesting Pocket stuff as well. So I do actually play a lot of Pocket. I have, I think, almost 100 games of Pocket. And it's one of my favorite heroes. I've been grinding the Lash lately. I've been enjoying it a lot. But I will definitely play Pocket and make a video about that as well. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe as always. And see you next time. Bye-bye.